Hello, everybody. Today's review is going to be of The Matrix Resurrections, which I gave a 6 out of 10 to, and I will get more into the reason why behind that. It just, it really didn't add up, or it really didn't pale in comparison to the original trilogy, which I think I have to go back and watch because there's apparently a lot from the story that I forget. I don't think I've seen the original Matrix trilogy since I was like a teenager. So yeah, it's been quite a while. Yeah, I was still in high school, I think, when I watched the original uh, trilogy. I might even be younger than that, to be honest. Um, but yeah, I remember really enjoying them. I think I've seen them a couple times. So maybe I watched, it's at least been since I was a teenager, like high school years, since I've actually watched the original Matrix movies. So yeah, definitely excited to go back and watch those too, because there's quite a bit of the story I think I forget, but they changed quite a bit in this movie, and I think they were just trying to do too much with the story, and that unfortunately kind of made it fall a little bit too short, like, of what it could have been. Like, we could have gotten two solid movies out of this, I think. Like, we could have gotten a Matrix 4 and 5, potentially, or a Matrix Resurrections Part 1 and 2, I think, probably would have maybe made a little bit more sense. But yeah, I feel like there was just too much stuff into this movie, and it ran a little too long to, yeah, to make it good. This could have been two movies. I think would have probably maybe been a bit better, but who knows? So we had Keanu Reeves, obviously, as Neo and Thomas Anderson, Carrie Ann Moss as Trinity and Tiffany, Yahya Abdul Mateen II as Morpheus and Agent Smith, Jonathan Groff as Smith, not to be confused, not to confuse those two, but Jessica Henwick as Bugs, who is like the new character, I guess, or new and old in a way. I don't really know exactly. It was kind of like old code and new code written together, and that sometimes got confusing throughout the movie. Neil Patrick Harris as the analyst, who is basically the person who has taken over this Matrix world and kind of made it into like his own image. So I guess he's kind of like hacked the system in a way, and the world that um, Thomas created is kind of wiped out, and it seems that I guess Thomas and Tiffany died, and he resurrected them, I guess, in a sense, and now he's just kind of made a world based on them, like around them, but yeah, it was very weird. Like he made it in his own image, and tried to keep them separated so that they wouldn't remember what had happened in his Matrix. Jada Pinkett Smith as Niobe, and I had no idea that it was her that was playing that part until I actually looked at the cast list. So there was a lot of people in this movie. Priyanka Chopra Jonas played Sadie. Christina Ricci played Gwendover, who was part of his team, and there were some other characters obviously in there, but I felt like they kind of were almost secondary compared to her. So I put her obviously in the cast list. Lambert Wilson as the Mergivian. Toby Unaware as Sequai, I want to say is how you pronounce that name. Max Remelt as Shepard. Joshua Groff as Funkholm. Brian J. Smith as Berg, and Erndira Abara as Lexi. So there was obviously quite a few people, and it just kept switching back and forth between, I guess, what we're supposed to believe is the real world and what is the Matrix. Sometimes it was hard to tell, and even I think Neo had a hard time telling, even after he woke up, like what was real and what was fiction, because he had based this entire world on making it hard to tell what was fiction and what was reality. So you kind of had to like if you took the blue pill, you were stuck kind of in this constant loop, right? And if you took the red pill, you could break free of the Matrix and realize that you were trapped. was I guess what was supposed to be, yeah, the experiment. So if you took the blue pill, I guess you thought you were where you're supposed to belong, and I guess if you the longer you were there, the more you truly believed it. But if you could take the red pill and realize that you weren't actually supposed to be there, there was a way out. Um, Unfortunately, the way out seems maybe not that great because they end up stuck in like this Sentinel type universe, and I guess that the analyst was keeping them in these pods with the Sentinels, and then the machines started fighting one another, I guess, for power. Um, Not really sure why that was even tied into the story. It felt kind of weird. It felt kind of like almost like two movies uh, wrapped into one, right? Like it felt like an alien movie almost mixed with the Matrix, and it just felt so weird. Now I know that I guess they kind of explain that that is where uh, Neo and Trinity crash at the end of the third film, I think, or maybe they added that in. I can't remember. Like it's been so long since I've seen the original trilogy that I can't actually remember whether um, that happens at the end of the third movie. But it must have happened somewhere in the story um, for them to even mention that, right? So I guess they died when they crashed, and then the analyst was able to resurrect them and kind of make everybody essentially forget who they were. Um, he even made kind of Morpheus forget who he was truly, because he had become an agent. So the analyst had rewritten the code and changed everybody's appearances so that Neo looked different to everybody. He looked like a balding old man, and Trinity was like had long blonde hair. Now I'm not really sure what Morpheus was supposed to look like. He kind of looked the same in both universes, really, and yeah, I'm not really sure what he was made of in like the real world, but he wasn't definitely wasn't human by any means. So it was kind of interesting to see him like trapped in the Matrix and in the human world because he was almost computer generated in both universes. So yeah, that was kind of a weird thing. And he could travel like he was the one that ended up traveling into Neo's pod and helping with Trinity. Yeah, to kind of to try to get her out of the Matrix as well. So there's a lot going on in this film, and I feel like there's just too much because you're trying to figure out exactly what they're doing in the real world, and then the general's trying to control everybody, and I guess keep them from going into the Matrix essentially, uh, which seems kind of weird because that seems to be the only way to save anybody would be to go into the Matrix and help them figure out that they're not supposed to be there, like kind of red pill everybody, if you know what I mean. Would be the play I would think would to kind of like restore humanity, essentially. And it almost seems like she was trying to stop them from doing that because I guess she just had become sort of friends with the Sentinels. It was kind of like a weird relationship between the general and the Sentinels, I thought. Um, yeah, and she was kind of trying to stop them. Um, the way I understood it, anyway, it was almost like she was trying to stop them from helping um, Neo or anybody. And I don't know exactly who she was trying to protect. Like, was it the Sentinels? I'm not really sure. I guess the 60 some odd years that um, obviously Neo had been trapped in the Matrix, she had kind of, I guess whatever humans were left had kind of done their own work, right? So maybe she was just trying to protect that because she wasn't really sure what would happen if between the two worlds, maybe if Neo was freed and Trinity was freed. It was, yeah. So I guess she was just trying to kind of trying to protect her own, right? It makes sense because she's not really sure if she can trust Neo because it's been so long, right? And I would have an issue trusting her after she seemed to kind of side more with the Sentinels, which is what had been keeping him, yeah, kind of trapped in a sense because um, yeah, he was stuck in that pod for so long, and then I guess when he woke up, though, they brought him to the people, so it was kind of weird. I guess the Sentinels and the humans had kind of like an understanding relationship now, because obviously in the beginning, I don't think that's probably how it was going. It seems like they were trying to fight the Sentinels, and then the machines started attacking each other for more power. Um, Now, I'm not really sure what the Sentinel race they were with was called. I think he referred to them as like squids at one point. So, yeah, there was obviously different like races, or yeah, I guess races of the Sentinels. It's kind of weird. I found that part of the movie hard to follow at certain points. So maybe I'll sit down and watch this again sometime just to kind of figure that out. But it almost seemed like that was kind of pulling away from the regular story of them in the Matrix. Now, I will say the action scenes were cool. It was very Matrix like, and I feel like that was like essentially the action sequences were still felt very Matrix like, with the flying and the being able to not really get hurt and heal quickly, that sort of thing. And also, I guess if you die in the Matrix, you can technically die. Oh, sorry, you can technically die in real life. So, yeah, kind of a crazy concept. I don't remember that from the old movies, but maybe that was true in the old movies too. And it was kind of cool watching everybody kind of remember who they were. Now, obviously, Trinity took the longest. Morpheus kind of takes the red pill willingly right from the beginning, because he's like, okay, well, if I don't remember my purpose, and like I have to, he's been searching for Neo for a long time, and this Bugs person knows that Neo is still alive somehow, and they end up in his like apartment in the Matrix. So yeah, it was interesting that uh, Morpheus had been looking for him for so long after forgetting who he even was. So I guess maybe Morpheus was trying to find Neo in order to find the answers, and they just happened to kind of run into one another finally after searching for so long. So I mean, there was a good story there. I just feel like they tried to fit way too much into the movie, and it just ended up kind of flopping it. Now, Agent Smith and Neo had a connection, I guess. And at the end of the movie, no, not Agent Smith, sorry, just Smith. Smith and Neo had a connection, and at the end of the movie, Smith ends up helping Neo against the analyst in the end, because I guess Smith wasn't really truly free until Neo was actually out of the pod. So once Neo was free, I guess the analyst couldn't really control Smith anymore. Like, he kind of was able to write his own story essentially in the Matrix. Again, there was so much going on in this movie that it just got really confusing. And I will say that the Oracle on Earth was, or the Oracle in the Matrix. I'm trying to remember this right. The Oracle was Morpheus, is essentially what I was getting at there. And I think in the human world he was the Oracle, and then in the Matrix he was Morpheus. So it was kind of interesting. Um, and the exiles in the Matrix, I believe, were kind of like forgotten code. I think, if I remember, yeah, at least that's how I understood it. Was that they were older than even Neo himself. So when they go back into the Matrix to try to get Trinity out, they run into these exiles, and I think they were kind of just forgotten code, and because Neo does remember them from a long time ago, so then they're even older than Neo. So yeah, I feel like the exiles were forgotten code, and in order for them to uh, like write their own stories, Neo has to die in the Matrix, and Smith tries to kill him at that point, but then sides with him at the end. And he does say, like, that was your one chance to have this unlucky alliance. So, yeah, I'm not really sure where Smith goes from there. Now, it seems like Trinity and Neo are coming back into the Matrix to rewrite it themselves. So they're not really up for negotiations. Like, they'll just keep making the analyst uh, hurt, basically, from what I saw at the end. And then they even rewrote the little bit where he was trapped as a game designer, where they're saying they need this whole like just a series of cat videos called the Cat Tricks. So you can already see that they're putting their influence into the Matrix. Um, I don't know if we're ever going to get another movie. It would be interesting to see where this story goes from here, but I feel like this movie just wasn't as good as it could have been. And again, I feel like it could have been two parts, like being trapped in the Matrix with the analyst and him trying to pull Neo back in and say, you know, you're just having these manic episodes, sort of thing. Like, this isn't really what is happening. What is happening is, you know, these therapy sessions, sort of thing, and just like your everyday life. But it was cool to see Neo kind of recognize the patterns, uh, like going to the office and people repeating the same things daily, and then the birds flying through the air in the exact same pattern. And then he was, uh, I think he was picking up even on like the reflections, people looking different in the reflections than they did in like face to face sort of thing. Like, I think he slowly picked up on that. And then when him and Tiffany shook hands in the beginning, Trinity, uh, they like touched hands, and she goes, "Have we met before?" So that was kind of like the breaking point, I think, because obviously the analyst was trying to keep them from ever doing that, so that their memories wouldn't flood back in, right? And he kind of has like these little flashes of the old characters when the new characters show up, or the new code. So yeah, he was noticing things slowly but surely, and then eventually, obviously, when Bugs gets to him, she takes him under her wing and says, you know, like, here we go, let's get you out of here too, right? And when they found him, he was written the same way that Trinity was, where she was just kind of doing the same thing day to day sort of thing, and they're able to get her out of there too, because eventually she kind of goes like, as soon as it seems like almost as soon as Neo's about to be executed by the analyst, she finally realizes, like, hold on a second, this feels like the dream I just had, and now I'm actually living the dream that I just had, and all of a sudden this feels a little too real. Like, I'm not actually Tiffany, I am Trinity. So yeah, the epiphany at the end for her was pretty cool. And again, the action sequences were great. I think the soundtrack was pretty good too for this movie. And other than that, some of the CGI was a little bad. Like, I felt the long shots with the CGI were done well, but then sometimes when the close-ups were there, you could tell there were some imperfections. So I mean, but yeah, I think there was just too much in the story. Like, I've rambled on about again, um, for a third time now. But yeah, I think I've pretty much covered everything I can for this movie, and maybe I will sit down and watch it again and do a re-review after I go back and watch the other three, because maybe it'll make a little bit more sense to me. But I just feel like this could have been a two-part movie. That's my final take on it, and yeah, I guess I will see you guys in the next review. Bye bye for now.